Girls Aloud were an English-Irish pop girl group, which was created through the ITV talent show Popstars, The Rivals in 2002. The group comprised singers Cheryl Cole, Nadine Coyle, Sarah Harding, Nicola Roberts and Kimberley Walsh. The group achieved a string of 20 consecutive top 10 singles in the United Kingdom, including 4 number ones. They also achieved 7 certified albums, of which 2 reached number 1. They have been nominated for 5 Brit Awards, winning the 2009 Best Single for The Promise. The group's musical style is pop, but throughout their career they had experimented with electropop and dance pop. Girls Aloud's collaborations with Brian Higgins and his songwriting and production team Xenomania earned the group critical acclaim, due to an innovative approach to mainstream pop music. The group became one of the few UK reality television acts to achieve continued success, amassing a fortune of £30 a million by May 2010. Guinness World Records lists them as most successful reality TV group in the 2007 edition. They also hold the record for most consecutive top 10 entries in the UK by a female group in the 2008 edition, and are credited again for most successful reality TV group in the 2011 edition. The group was also named the United Kingdom's biggest-selling girl group of the 21st century, with over 4.3 million single sales and 4 million albums sold in the UK alone. In March 2013, after the 10 Hits tour, the group announced their split. Girls Aloud have sold 10 million records worldwide. History: 2002, Popstars The Rivals. The group Girls Aloud was formed on November 30, 2002, in front of millions of viewers on ITV's Popstars, The Rivals. The concept of the program, hosted by Big Brother presenter Davina McCall, was to produce a boy band and a girl group who would be rivals, and compete for the 2002 Christmas #1 single. Following the initial success of Here's A, several thousand applicants attended auditions across the United Kingdom in hope of being selected. 10 girls and 10 boys were chosen as finalists by judges Pete Waterman, Louis Walsh and Spice Girls member Jerry Halliwell. However, 2 of these were disqualified before the live shows began. Hazel Kanswaran was found to be too old to participate, while Nicola Ward refused to sign the contract, claiming the pay the group would receive was too low. Kimberley Walsh and Nicola Roberts, who had made it into the final 15 but not the final 10, were chosen as their replacements. During October and November, the finalists took to the stage, participating in weekly Saturday night live performances. Each week the contestant polling the fewest phone votes was eliminated, until the final lineups of the groups emerged. The 5 girls who made it into the group were Cheryl, Nicola, Nadine, Kimberley and Sarah. Javine Hilton missed out on a place in the group, despite previous expectations that she would be placed in the lineup. The group was named Girls Aloud and were managed by Louis Walsh until 2005, when Hilary Shaw replaced him. The new group competed with the boys' winning group, One True Voice, to have 2002's Christmas #1 single. Girls Aloud won the battle with their single Sound of the Underground, produced by Brian Higgins and Xenomania. The song spent 4 consecutive weeks at #1 and was certified platinum in March 2003. The song received critical acclaim. Alexis Petridis of The Guardian stated that it proved a first. It was a reality pop record that didn't make you want to do physical harm to everyone involved in its manufacture. 2002 €05, Sound of the Underground and What Will the Neighbors Say? After the success of their first single Sound of the Underground, Girls Aloud spent 5 months recording the follow-up single and their debut album. Sound of the Underground was completed in April 2003 and released the following month. The album entered the charts at #2 and was certified platinum by the British phonographic industry. The second single, No Good Advice, was also released in May 2003 to similar success. Girls Aloud's third single, Life Got Cold, charted at #3 in August 2003. In November 2003, Girls Aloud released a cover version of the Pointer Sisters' 1980s dance hit Jump. The single, which charted at #2, accompanied a new edition of Sound of the Underground. After a brief hiatus, Girls Aloud released the show in June 2004, the first single from What Will the Neighbors Say? the group's second album. The single entered the charts at number 2. The next single, Love Machine, also peaked at number 2 in September 2004. Girls Aloud then recorded a cover of The Pretenders' I'll Stand By You, which was released as the official Children in Need charity single. The song was not well received by critics. However, the cover became Girls Aloud's second number 1 single, holding the position for 2 weeks. The album What Will the Neighbors Say? Was entirely written and produced by Xenomania. Upon its release on November 29, 2004, the album charted just outside of the top 5 and was quickly certified platinum. The final single from the album, Wake Me Up, was released in February 2005. It charted at number 4, making it their first to miss the top 3. In early 2005, the group was nominated for a Brit Award for Best Pop Act. Following the album's success, Girls Aloud announced their first tour What Will the Neighbors Say? Live, which took place in May 2005. The group also released its first DVD, Girls on Film, 2005 07, Chemistry and the Sound of Girls Aloud. Following their first tour, Girls Aloud began work on their third studio album, Chemistry. The album peaked on the UK albums charts at number 11 and received platinum certification. The first single from the album, Long Hot Summer, was released in August 2005. The single ended Girls Aloud's run of top 5 singles when it charted at number 7. The follow-up single from the album, Biology, was released in November 2005. The song was critically acclaimed. Peter Cashmere of The Guardian labeled it the best pop single of the last decade. The release was followed by a cover of DC Lee's See the Day, released in the Christmas week of 2005. Following this they presented one-off TV special, Christmas Mania, on ITV, where they sang songs taken from their Christmas album. Girls Aloud won the Heart Award for the single at the O2 Silver Clef Lunch. The group travelled to Australia and New Zealand in February 2006 to release Biology and Chemistry. Despite a one-week promotional tour, Biology peaked at number 26 on the ARIA singles chart, failing to break the group in the Australian market. Whole Lotta History, the fourth and final single to be taken from Chemistry, was released in March 2006 and charted at number 6. In 2005, Girls Aloud filmed a one-off documentary entitled Girls Aloud, Home Truths for ITV2. The success of the show later made way for Off the Record, a 6-part fly-on-the-wall documentary series for E4. Girls Aloud then appeared in an episode of Ghost Hunting with towards the end of 2006, in which Yvette Fielding guided them through haunted locations. In May 2006, Girls Aloud embarked on their first arena tour, the Chemistry Tour. In the same month, Girls Aloud were moved to Fascination Records, a sub-label of Polydor Records. In October 2006, Girls Aloud released their first greatest hits collection, The Sound of Girls Aloud, The Greatest Hits. It debuted at number 1 on the UK album chart and went on to sell over 1 million copies. The album was accompanied by the single Something Kinda New. Girls Aloud became the first British act to reach the top 5 purely on download sales. The single peaked at number 3 following its physical release. The next single was a cover of I Think We're Alone Now, which peaked at number 4 on the UK singles chart. In March 2007, Girls Aloud collaborated with fellow British girl group Sujababes for the cover of the song Walk This Way by Aerosmith. Billed as Sujababes vs. Girls Aloud, the song served as the official single for Comic Relief, which became the group's third number 1. In May 2007, Girls Aloud embarked on their third tour, The Sound of Girls Aloud, The Greatest Hits Tour, 2007-09, Tangled Up and Out of Control. Girls Aloud released their fourth studio album, Tangled Up, in November 2007. The first single from the album, Sexy No No No, peaked at number 5 on the UK singles chart. The second single, Call the Shots, entered the top 3. The third and final single from the album, Can't Speak French, continued Girls Aloud's top 10 streak. The release of the single coincided with Girls Aloud's second television series, The Passions of Girls Aloud. The show revolved around each member achieving aspirations outside the group. Girls Aloud also received their second Brit Award nomination in 2008, nominated for the Best British Group Award. In May 2008, Girls Aloud embarked on the Tangled Up tour, which consisted of 34 concerts around the United Kingdom. Girls Aloud then recorded 2 tracks for the soundtrack to the movie, St. Trinians. They also made a cameo appearance in the film as the school band. The soundtrack was released on December 10, 2007, and the video for Theme to St. Trinians premiered in December 2007. In November 2008, Girls Aloud released their 5th studio album and would be their final studio album, Out of Control, which entered the UK Albums Chart at number 1 and became their most successful studio album to date, being certified double platinum. The album's lead single, The Promise, became the group's 4th number 1 on the UK Singles Chart. The single also returned the group to the top 2 on the Irish Singles Chart. Girls Aloud performed at the Brit Awards for the first time in their careers, with The Promise being awarded Best British Single. For the promotion of the album, Girls Aloud appeared in a variety show entitled The Girls Aloud Party, which aired on December 13, 2008 on ITV. The second single from Out of Control was The Loving Kind. The track was produced by Xenomania and the Pet Shop Boys. The song peaked at number 10, becoming Girls Aloud's 20th consecutive top 10 single. The final single from the album, Untouchable, was released in April 2009. It peaked at number 11 on the UK Singles Chart, becoming the first single of Girls Aloud to miss the top 10. Girls Aloud embarked on the Out of Control tour, which ran from April to June 2009. Their label, Fascination Records, released a singles box set collection to coincide with the tour. In February 2009, Girls Aloud signed a new record deal with Fascination that would see the group release another 3 studio albums. However, in July 2009, Girls Aloud announced that they were taking a year-long hiatus to pursue solo projects, but would reunite for a new studio album in 2010, which didn't happen. 2 months later, Girls Aloud briefly interrupted the hiatus to do 2 shows supporting Coldplay along with Jay-Z at Wembley Stadium, 2012 at Euro 13-10. After 3 years of hiatus, Girls Aloud reunited for the group's 10th anniversary. On November 16, 2012, the group released their new single, Something New, which was the official charity single for children in need. The single peaked at number 2 on the UK Singles Chart. The group released their second greatest hits compilation, 10, on November 23, 2012. The second single taken from 10, Beautiful 'Cause You Love Me, was released on December 17, 2012. The single failed to chart in the top 40. A documentary special entitled Girls Aloud, 10 Years at the Top aired on ITV1 on December 15, 2012. In February 2013, the group embarked on 10, The Hits Tour. On March 20, 2013, the group performed their final concert at Echo Arena, Liverpool. Few hours later they announced their split through Twitter, to shock of many fans, especially when in 2009, they confirmed to release 3 more studio albums as a group. Despite this, they thanked fans for the past 10 years and stated they wish to pursue solo projects. Artistry, musical style. Girls Aloud worked closely with Brian Higgins and his songwriting and production team Xenomania throughout their career. Xenomania produced all of Girls Aloud's albums and singles, excluding 9 songs from their debut album Sound of the Underground, the charity single Walk This Way, and 2 songs from 10. Of Higgins and Xenomania, Girls Aloud's former manager Louis Walsh says, "He just makes great songs for radio. They just jump out at you and stay in your brain." In a review of the group's debut single Sound of the Underground, The Guardian's Alexis Petridis exclaimed it proved a first, it was a reality pop record that didn't make you want to do physical harm to everyone involved in its manufacture. In response to Girls Aloud's debut album, Jacqueline Hodges of BBC Music said that Higgins injects an element of instant catchy cool to the songs without going overboard in trying to shape Yoruba chic dance floor hits. Petridis of The Guardian described What Will the Neighbors Say? As a great album, funny, clever, immediate, richly inventive. He later wrote that Chemistry is a record that dispenses with the tiresome business of verses and instead opts for songs apparently constructed by stitching 8 different choruses together. Taylor Cranes of BBC Music exclaimed that Girls Aloud have resuscitated pop music's corpse by wedding chart-friendly melodies to experimental avant-garde sounds. Biology was described as about as far from tired formula as you can possibly get. It sounds like 3 separate melodies condensed into one. Pop Justice referred to the song as pop music, which redefines the supposed boundaries of pop music. In a review for 2007 Sexy. No No No. Nick Levine of Digital Spy complimented Xenomania's work on the song, sacrificing conventional song structure in the name of keeping hooks coming thick and fast to Euro, and quite right too. Influences. The band members themselves are known to be fans of artists such as Ne-Yo, Oasis, and Michael Jackson. The group's debut album Sound of the Underground takes influence from a number of 1980s genres, such as synthpop, power pop, and new wave, and 1990s styles like big beat, drum and bass, and garage. The album received comparisons to girl groups such as Bananarama, The Bangles, and the Spice Girls. Similarities to Kylie Minogue and Madonna were also noted. A majority of the songs make use of guitars and electronic beats. The rise of indie rock also inspired Brian Higgins to blur the edges between commercial music and so-called indie music. He continued, "Pop music was on its backside and indie music was about to rise, through the Strokes and everything else. We were an independent company and we were as indie as the other bands around us." The guitar riff on No Good Advice is very similar to the riff on the track Michael by Franz Ferdinand. What Will the Neighbors Say? Further explores different subgenres of pop, especially electropop. Synthesizers are more prominent on the album, although the usage of guitar remains prominent in several songs. The backing track to Love Machine, composed by Xenomania musicians Tim Powell and Nicola, was inspired by the Smiths, while Wake Me Up includes a guitar riff inspired by garage rock. Chemistry takes influences from a wide variety of sources, including everything from French chanson to piano-pounding blues to the clip and B of the Small Faces. Rapping in the same vein as artists like Betty Boo and Nenny Cherry is prominent. Yahoo! Music says there's nary a formula in sight. There are as many sudden tonal and tempo switches as the trixiest Chicago art rock band. And all but one song here gives guitars a starring role. The songs are noticeably less rooted in electronic music, although Swinging London Town is a dark, squiggly synth-pop epic a la Pet Shop Boys, and its magic is composed of little Roixop-like keyboard riffs. Alternatively, Tangled Up features a dancier, more electronic sound, inspired by the success of their 2006 single Something Kinda New. Call the Shots, Close to Love, and Girl Overboard are all electropop numbers reminiscent of 1980s music. However, Control of the Knife is more inspired by reggae and ska, while Can't Speak French employs jazzy guitar changes, and Black Jacks recalls 60s psychedelica. Out of Control features a number of songs inspired by 1980s electropop, while also exploring retro styles. The Promise is a 1960s Spector-influenced number, while Rolling Back the Rivers in Time was compared to Burt Bacharach. Legacy, Girls Aloud's debut single Sound of the Underground, and another Xenomania production, Sucha Babes Round Round, have been called 2 huge groundbreaking hits, credited with reshaping British pop music for the 2000s. The Telegraph placed the song at number 15 on a list of 100 songs that defined the 2000s, while NME included it at number 39. Spinner.com named Sound of the Underground the 8th best British song of the 2000s. In 2009, The Times included 2007's Tangled Up at number 62 on a list of the decade's best pop albums, while the Daily Mail listed it as the 20th best album of the decade. MSN listed 2005's Chemistry as one of the decade's best albums. Girls Aloud were one of the few pop acts to achieve continued success and longevity throughout the mid-2000s while R&B and rock music became more popular. In a review for the group's 2008 Tangled Up tour, David Pollock of The Independent noted that Girls Aloud remained confidently the only pop show in town. The Times stated, "Not since the ABBA and Michael Jackson has pure pop been so unanimously praised." Girls Aloud are also notably one of the few British reality television acts to achieve continued success and longevity. According to The Times, Girls Aloud are the highest-earning UK reality television stars, having amassed a fortune of £25 a million by May 2009. A figure was increased to £30 a million the following year, following Cheryl Cole's appearance on The X Factor. All 5 members were included in a 2010 list of Britain's richest stars under 30. Reviews of Girls Aloud's debut album noted the high quality of the album compared to output from other reality show contestants. In 2004, David Hooper of BBC Music exclaimed that Girls Aloud are currently British pop royalty. In the ultra-fickle world of TV-generated pop, Girls Aloud have real staying power. Andrew Lynch of Entertainment Ear said, "Girls Aloud really shouldn't have made it as far as a second album. There's just one problem: the girls have a knack of coming up with utterly infectious pop songs." The group has found themselves a number of celebrity fans such as the Jonas Brothers, Agro Santos, Arctic Monkeys Matt Helders, former Guns N' Roses member Duff McKagan, Gabriel Cilmi, Oasis Noel Gallagher, and Neil Tennant. U2 frontman Bono said that he is a fan of the band, saying, "I think Girls Aloud are at the cutting edge of pop music. They are a great band and they deserve to be center stage." Chris Martin of alternative rock band Coldplay also said that he is a fan of Girls Aloud, referring to them as the ultimate form of life. Former Spice Girls members Emma Bunton and Jerry Halliwell are also reported to be fans. Julie Burchill has also stated that she is a fan of Girls Aloud. She has stated that they are simply the most perfect pop group since the Monkees. Girls Aloud have had their music covered by artists as varied as Arctic Monkeys, Block Party, and Coldplay, among others. Other endeavors: Girls Aloud came together with Mattel in 2005 to produce Fashion Fever Barbies. Each member designed the outfit and look of a doll modeled after themselves. In addition to live DVDs of their tours and both of Girls Aloud's television series, the group has also released Girls on Film and Style. Official calendars have also been issued annually from 2004 to 2009, the only exception being 2005. Girls Aloud co-wrote an autobiography titled Dreams That Glitter, Our Story. The book, named after a lyric in Call the Shots, was published in October 2008 through the Transworld imprint Bantam Press. Before the release, OK! Magazine bought the rights to preview and serialize the book. In 2007, Girls Aloud signed a £1.25 million one-year deal to endorse hair care brand Sunsilk. The girls filmed a television advertisement and appeared in End magazine advertisements, with each of the 5 members being the face of a different shampoo. The same year, Girls Aloud also sealed a deal with the UK division of Samsung. They endorsed mobile phones and MP3 players, made personal appearances and sang at Samsung events, and contributed to competition prizes, among other activities. The Samsung F210 Purple came with a 1 GB memory card featuring Girls Aloud content. Girls Aloud appeared in television advertisements for Nintendo DS the following year. The girl group signed a deal to front a promotional campaign for a new low-calorie Kit Kat bar called Senses in March 2008. The chocolate bar manufacturer also sponsored Girls Aloud's Tangled Up tour. The exact worth of the endorsement is unknown, but a figure of £500,000 each has been suggested. Sales increased 6.8% in the United Kingdom. Beginning in 2009, Girls Aloud teamed with Ella to release 5 sets of false eyelashes, each set designed by a different member of the band. A range of festival-themed lashes followed in 2010, while limited edition 10th anniversary lash was released in 2012. Similarly, to celebrate their 10th anniversary, each member designed a charm bracelet for Pandora, available as either a complete bracelet or a starter bracelet. Pandora is the official sponsor of the group's 10 The Hits tour. Philanthropy: all 5 members of the group have been involved in charity work. Girls Aloud's cover of The Pretenders' I'll Stand By You was released as the official 2004 Children in Need single, with proceeds going to the charity. Nicola Roberts said, "Hopefully if our single does well it's a lot of money going to the charity." Their cover Aerosmith and Run DMC's Walk This Way, a collaboration with the Soulja Babes, was the official charity single for Comic Relief in 2007, recorded at Comic Relief co-founder and trustee Richard Curtis' request. Kimberley Walsh said, "It's a fantastic song and hopefully will raise tons of money for people living in really difficult situations here and in Africa." In March 2009, Cheryl Cole, Kimberley Walsh, and various other celebrities climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in aid of Comic Relief. The trek raised £3.4 million for the charity. Between February 3 and March 23, 2009, Cole, Walsh, and other celebrities also raised money for Comic Relief by providing the voice for the BT speaking clock. Walsh is also a charity ambassador for Breast Cancer Haven. She helped open a £2.2 million breast cancer center in 2008 and participated in a heal-a-thon in 2009. In February 2011, Cheryl Cole launched her own charitable foundation with the Prince's Trust following a meeting with the Trust unregistered trademark S President, HRH Charles, Prince of Wales. The Cheryl Cole Foundation will provide vital funds for the Trust in the North East, helping disadvantaged young people from her own region. Girls Aloud celebrated their 10 years as a group by releasing another Children in Need single, Something New, which they performed on the Children in Need TV special on November 16, 2012. Discography: Sound of the Underground, What Will the Neighbors Say? Chemistry, Tangled Up, Out of Control, Tours. What Will the Neighbors Say? Tour, Chemistry Tour, Greatest Hits Tour, Tangled Up Tour, Out of Control Tour, 10, The Hits Tour, see also. List of awards and nominations received by Girls Aloud, List of Girls Aloud songs, List of best-selling girl groups, references. External links, official website, Girls Aloud at the Internet Movie Database.